Welcome to Fueling for Functional Fitness. I'm Josh.
I'm Jess, and today we're going to be talking about two things. The first is our predictions for the first open workout, 24.1. And the second is just kind of an overview of nutrition the day of the workout.
Yeah. So the first videos that we did, we touched on those. So we're just going to do a brief overview of how to fuel and how to prepare yourself for these workouts. So if you want a more in-depth look at that, go back and watch those videos. Mm-hmm. Today we're just gonna go over a brief recap.
Yeah.
But the fun stuff first, 24.1. So doing a little bit of digging, right? Dave Castro, obviously the head of the CrossFit Games, put out a video on his Instagram that said that 24.1, and I think he did this with his fingers, is going to be beautiful and unique and effective. And so obviously, if you're in the CrossFit community, this gets the gears turning and you kind of start to think about...
kind of sends some shivers down your spine.
Yeah, you kind of start to think about what does he mean? Because again, if you're in the CrossFit community, you know that Dave is a pretty polarizing character. And he's the guy that everyone loves to hate, you know what I mean? So when you read that, what did you start to think about?
Well, when I read that, I thought about unique movements, because he said unique, that might be in the mix. But then I thought that this is the first workout of the Open, and usually the first workout is something that is more accessible to people. So I don't know if we're going to be seeing, we might see something like a crossover in the Open, but I don't think we'll see it in the first workout. I think the first workout is going to be beautiful, unique, and effective in terms of how the movements are maybe paired together or something. I think it's going to be an engine burner, but I think it's also going to be something that most people can do.
I agree.
So maybe there will be, something that is a skill like a double under, or a skill like a snatch. Those are kind of movements that, if you're new to CrossFit, you're probably still working on improving. I'm still working on improving the snatch especially, and I've been at this for a long time, but you know what I mean? It's not like a muscle up or a pullover or something something like that. So I don't know. Those are kind of my thoughts. What do you think?
I think last year we saw the burpee pull up for the first time, and I think that that's going to come back. And I think that is, obviously it's a spin on, a burpee. You're not doing just a burpee. You're doing two basically quintessential CrossFit movements, that being the burpee and the pull-up combined. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, to call it 24.1, I think it might be a little bit, I don't know. I'm having second thoughts about it. But I was like, what if they did 7 minutes of burpee pull-ups? Because 7 minutes of burpees is 14.1, and that is a quintessential kind of CrossFit test. So what if they just add this new wrinkle into it and they do burpee pull-ups instead of just straight up burpees? So that was one of the things that I started to think about for 24.1.
Another thing that I saw on one of Dave Castro's Instagram posts is that he said the workouts can be done at home. So they're not designed to be done at home. They're designed to be done in the setting of a CrossFit class. But he said if you have the right knowledge and the right equipment, which they didn't, I don't think they released
no equipment list.
So who knows? But you can do them at home. So that's something to think about too. Probably no rope climbs or anything. So.
Yeah, we haven't seen rope climb in the Open, have we?
Yeah, I don't know that. Who knows?
Probably quarterfinals.
Yeah.
More of a rope climb.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's going to be, whatever it is, it's going to be a cardio burner, an engine test.
Do you have any idea of what do you think the actual workout is going to be?
I don't know. I think we'll see either double unders or a light thruster or some pull-ups, some chest to bar. I think we're going to see something that's going to gas us.
Yeah. For For sure.
It's going to make us question our life choices.
Yeah, and then of course, like there's 2 more workouts after that, so it's like that's meant to really kick the whole open off and get everybody like really excited. And then generally what you see is the workouts get a little bit more complex and complicated as the open goes on.
A little heavier.
Yeah, a little heavier. Yep. I listened to a podcast, and a couple of the guys on the podcast said that there's not been a heavy deadlift in the open. I mean, 225 is pretty standard for guys, and 155 is pretty standard for ladies in the CrossFit space. But beyond that, short of like the Diane, the version where you went up to 315 for the guys and 225 for ladies and did handstand walks, there hasn't been a heavy deadlift. And if we're talking about accessibility and also low barrier to entry, a deadlift for most people is pretty low barrier to entry. So maybe not for the first workout, but maybe later on in the open, maybe we'll see a heavy deadlift. But who knows? But exciting time of year. Whether you're watching this before the open actually hits or you're watching it after or during the open, it's just always an exciting time of year for the CrossFit community. So
and the first one always kind of sets the tone for the year. So it'll be interesting to see what beautiful, unique, and effective means.
Yes.
So
beautiful and unique. So
moving on, let's recap what we talked about in our first couple of videos, which is nutrition for the day of. And I want to start by simply saying, like, don't change anything. Like, don't try anything new. So you know what foods generally work for you, what time of day it generally works for you to eat, what supplements generally work for you. Now is not the time to try something new, because best case scenario gives you like a little bit of an edge, and worst case scenario, it's like a total disaster and you're running to the bathroom halfway through and it's just like a nightmare. So stick to what you know works well for you. Tip number 1.
Yeah, for sure. The other one is obviously, and again, going back to those videos, we want to focus on protein and carbohydrates primarily. All right. And again, depending on what time of day you do these workouts, that can kind of like change things. Again, like we talked about, some people don't like to eat in the morning because they just can't handle it, and then they go and do a CrossFit workout and it becomes a big mess. And likewise, if people work out at night, they've had a whole day of eating, basically under their belts, for lack of a better term. And maybe they don't need as much fuel because they already got enough in their system. But no matter what, you always want to make sure to focus on protein and carbohydrates before your workout. You can go like a 1-to-1 ratio. So just as an example, again, if you have a protein shake that's just like one standard scoop, it's going to be between 20 and 25 grams of protein. You have something like a banana or an apple, and that's going to be 20 to 25 grams of carbs. So that's a perfect example of like a 1-to-1 ratio. And you want to keep fats far away. I talked about that in the first video. Fats equal far. You want to push those either way after this workout window or have it like way before, depending on what time of day you're working out at.
Yeah, and the protein shake and banana is a good example of like a snack, right? That would be like
yes, a snack.
Close. Yeah. But if we're talking like a meal, you want to shoot for like, and again, like those early morning people, a little bit of a different story, but generally like around 2 hours before, 2 hours after. And there you can, I'd say up your carbohydrates, right? Like if you're doing like, let's say 30 grams of protein, maybe shoot for 50 or 60 grams of carbs. And that can be a mix of, in those meals, that can be a mix of low GI and high GI carbs. So, we're talking like, this is where you add in like your higher fiber veggies are in those meals that are a little bit further away from your workout. But along with like some rice or, like something like that. So, and also in your post-workout meal, you can get away with a little bit more fat. You still don't want like it to be a high fat meal because what your body needs then is protein and carbs, but you can get away with a little bit more fat in your kind of post-workout meal. So yeah, that's kind of like 2 hours out. And then if you're going to have a snack, a little bit closer to, that's a great spot for the protein shake and banana.
Yep. So. And again, that's just just talking about like the 1-to-1 ratio. That's just a great simple example of that. It does not have to be like one of two or both of those things in particular.
Right.
It's just an example. Yeah. So I want to make sure that's clear.
Yeah, just a guideline.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So And another thing that we talked about in terms of like a post-workout meal is if you're we talked about this last time, is if you're doing like a Friday Night Lights kind of thing, or even if you're not, even if you work out like in the morning and then you're like headed to work after, just making sure you have those meals prepped.
Yeah.
So there aren't any surprises. Like you show up at your box to do the workout, you like nail your pre-workout nutrition, you're feeling good, you crush the workout. Afterwards, you didn't bring anything. All that's there is pizza. You're stuck with pizza.
Yeah.
Pizza's great. Not the best post-workout meal for recovery. Yeah. So just make sure you kind of look at the day as a whole and make a plan for it so that nutrition is the last thing that you have to worry about that day.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Not much to add as far as that goes. It's always fun, again, if we're talking about the Friday Night Lights and the big events that gyms throw, it's always fun to like get involved and like be there with your friends and stuff, but just make sure that if you are looking to start the recovery process and you're looking to really think about the week as a whole and then go into the next week and preparing for the next open workout, that you are taking care of your nutrition afterwards, and that does involve planning. So just make sure to take care of that.
Yeah. And timing is really important, like before and after, but your nutrition as a whole makes a bigger impact. So like if something doesn't go exactly as planned the day of, like don't stress. If you've been crushing it all along and you've been like eating adequate protein and fueling properly, then it's like training. Like if your kid gets sick and like you're not able to make it into the gym as much like the week of, but you've been very consistent leading up to that, like it's the hard work is already done. You've already put yourself in a great position. So
100%.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's it, gang. I mean, we really hope that these videos have been helpful. And the next one that we do, we're going to be in the middle. Well, not in the middle, but after the first one. After the first workout.
So we'll see if our non-predictions.
That's right. We'll see how it goes, and we're going to talk about it. And then obviously we'll get into the nuts and bolts of maybe what 24.2 is going to be. But yeah, it's good. Like I said, exciting time of year. So stick with us. If you have any comments, drop them down below. We'll respond, and maybe there's something that we can talk about in our videos. Yeah. So yeah. That's about it for this video, gang. So thanks a lot for tuning in. This has been Fueling for Functional Fitness. And I'm Josh.
And Jess.
And we'll see you guys next time. Again. Unbelievable.